What up, YouTube? It's me, it's your favourite Steve. As I've mentioned over the past few weeks, I wanted to bring back a WWE vlog, and this is it. So, I normally do a top and bottom 5 of the week for WWE, but I'll hopefully be doing it this week. It's Friday and I haven't even started Raw yet, so I'm going to have to get a lot in. But this is I normally do a top and bottom 5, but I'm going to do a top and bottom 3 for the pay-per-views. So, this is my top and bottom 3 for Hell in a Cell 2017. Right, let's start with the bottom 3. Always start with the negative. There wasn't a lot, really. I'm stretching at these bottom 3. There wasn't really a lot that was negative about it, but I always like to try and find the negative in everything. So, right, number 3. Bobby Roode. This is just a general thing, because I just don't like the way that WWE are going forward with him. He's a natural heel. The vignettes that we're doing on NXT, where he's rich, he's famous, he's pissing everyone off because he's, the it factor, the man. And I think it's one of those things that kind of happens in WWE, where you hear, people who've been close to Vince McMahon, where I don't think Vince gets the persona. He hears people singing the Glorious song and people getting into his entrance and kind of sees it as why would these people aren't going to boo him? If you watch NXT, everyone was booing him. It's not, he had the entrance, but everyone was booing him in his matches. No one was really cheering him. It was just everyone would sing along with his entrance. It's like Kurt Angle with You Suck. It's like Bray Wyatt. Look at Bray Wyatt, for example. All the buzzards and stuff like that are floating around. He's a heel. Yeah, he's a good heel. But everybody wants to do his entrance, and I think that should be the same thing with Bobby Roode. I just don't get it personally. I know it's not particularly a general thing of Hell in a Cell, but he played it up a lot more. Like, I don't know, he'd done something, he goes, "That was glorious," or something along those lines, and it just, I don't know. Not my cup of tea, anyway. Right, number 2. The Arena. Now, I've noticed this a few times with WWE, and I never noticed it back in the day, maybe because I was younger. But they keep doing these shots, and they did it with WrestleMania this year as well, where you have the pre-show. I don't watch the pre-show, but when it goes into the first match of the pay-per-view, the arena still isn't full. And on Hell in a Cell, one of the major things was when they were coming up the aisle and they're showing you the cell, the right-hand side, so where the camera is, was empty, and all you could see was red chairs. And it was even getting into the pay-per-view, and the whole top of the arena was empty. Well, not the whole, but you could see empty seats. So it obviously wasn't a full arena. I'm not any expert, I'm not Vince McMahon, I'm no WWE expert, I'm just a armchair wrestler. No, armchair critic, as they like to call it. I would have give those seats away. I would have got staff to sit there, because it just looks pants. Or just don't film it. Don't put the cameras there, because it just, for me, it looked rubbish. You could see there was empty seats. It's the big pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell, and you could see there was empty seats everywhere. And my number 1 bottom of the week. Again, these are so generalised because it's not really aiming at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. It was just stuff while watching Hell in a Cell that were annoying me. The Nakamura Jinder Mahal feud. Now, the particular thing that annoys me about the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, I understand that you already had the New Day inside Hell in a Cell. I understand that you had, Shane and Kevin Owens in Hell in a Cell. But the big thing about Jinder Mahal since he's been champion is that you've had the Singh brothers there constantly getting involved, interfering in his matches every time. How it's just not a thing before. Look, you can't have these two guys at ringside. I have no clue. And obviously, I know it's not real. But I just don't understand on a storyline or making sense point of view why on a pay-per-view where there's a big cage to make sure that nobody gets in, you wouldn't have them in the big cage. I know they'd already done the Punjabi prison, so they had the cage, and then the Singh brothers kind of interfered. It ended up being the Great Khali in the end. But you've got a pay-per-view with a cage there to stop the two guys interfering, or just ban them. But come on, it would make more sense if you had a heel general manager. You had a Stephanie McMahon or Eric Bischoff back in the day, or something like that. But you haven't. You've got two good guy commissioners and general manager, and they still let these two guys get involved every week, every month, in every match. Come on. I know it's not real, but it's got to make sense. Right, so that was my bottom three. Now let's go to the top three. Let's be more positive. Yeah. Right. Number three. It's not going to be surprising what my top three are, but number three might be a little bit of a thingy. A little bit of a shock. Sami Zayn turning heel. I've been waiting for this a while, and I've been waiting for... I thought they were going to do it when it was Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho feuding, but I thought the most natural thing was for Sami Zayn to align with Kevin Owens, and I think that's what's happening now. I haven't watched SmackDown, but I think that's what's going to happen. Because I just think Sami was going stale. There wasn't really anything he was doing. He was on SmackDown, kind of just having good matches with people. He was kind of the Dolph Ziggler. I've noticed Dolph Ziggler's having the role of, he's the guy who can have a good match with anyone. I think that's what Sami was getting labelled with. Just put him with any heel that comes out. He was kind of, Dolph has the good guys that come over. Sami was having the heels from NXT. And now Sami's, hopefully, it might turn into a big match with him at WrestleMania against Shane McMahon. That's what I'm hoping for him. Because I just think he was going stale. He hasn't really, when you think about it, since he's been over from NXT, even on Raw and SmackDown, he hasn't had a feud. And I think he needs one. So yeah, I was really happy for Sami Zayn to now eventually become heel. He's a good guy, but I think people will see a better bad guy out of Sami Zayn. Number two, the Hell in a Cell match between the New Day and the Usos. I wasn't really expecting a lot from this. Why this isn't my number one? Purely because when they were getting the instruments from under the ring, it just annoys me. I get maybe they shouldn't have tables under the ring, maybe they shouldn't have chairs, but that makes more sense. You can kind of, I don't know, you can make more sense out of it having a table and chairs under the ring. Maybe ladders to set up the ring, stuff like that. But tambourines, gongs, that just annoys me. So that's why it didn't get to my number one. But that match was hard hitting, physical. Those cane shots that Xavier Woods was taking across the chest. And then like the receipts that he gave the Usos after, and then when he was in the handcuffs and they were just beating him, it was absolutely, it was brutal. But I thought it was a pretty good match towards the end. But I think the right team won. I was happy that the Usos won. I think the promo that they did on SmackDown the week before was well done, and I thought they deserved the win. That was my number two. And my number one, I'm sure it's not going to be any kind of shock to anyone. It was Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens. I liked, again, that it was more physical Hell in a Cell. I'm glad they went, the last 3 years, they've kind of gone back to a more physical Hell in a Cell. They went through a lot of years where you just had the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and it was just basically the regular match inside the cell. Like the era of the John Cena versus Randy Orton, or the Sheamus versus Randy Orton, or anybody versus Randy Orton inside the Hell in a Cell. It was pretty pants. So I'm so glad they've now gone back to the more physical Hell in a Cell matches. The obvious, I thought Kevin Owens took one hell of a bump off the side of the cage into the table. That looked rough. Obviously the big elbow from the top, Shane's specialty, but he I'm not sure what happened to him. There was a lot of rumours about dislocated shoulder, or maybe broken arm or whatever. But the way he hit that table, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever, because the way his arm hit that table was rough. It was rough. If you look back at it again, the way his arm hit that table was rough as anything. But I liked when they were on top of the cage as well. The way they were selling it on top of the cage, you could tell that was genuinely hurting them when they were, unless it wasn't, and it might not have been, but for me it looked like it genuinely was hurting when they were getting back body dropped on that cage. And it just makes me think, with some of the moves that they were doing on that cage, you could see the bend in the top of that cage. Makes me cringe, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to watch any of the Mick Foley Hell in a Cells back. But that particular one with The Undertaker, when they're walking across the top of that cell, and you see how reinforced this new cell is, and it was still bending, and it was still making me go, oh, I can't get through there. But the one, it makes me think the Mick Foley Undertaker one, when they were stepping on the top of that cage, it just, oh God, it makes me feel ill just thinking about how close. Back in the day when I used to watch it when I was a kid, and I didn't think anything of it, and now I think about it and go, oh my God, one wrong weight distribution or whatever, and they were going through the top of that roof. Anyway, I've gabbled on enough. That was my top 3 and bottom 3 of the week of Hell in a Cell. If you watched Hell in a Cell, let me know what you think. Also, I'm always after feedback on these WWE vlogs. If you are into WWE, if you're a reseller that's not into WWE, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you stayed along. If you're not, I'm going to try and get more WWE fans along. If you're a WWE fan and you've watched this, please share if you enjoyed it. If you're a WWE fan and you didn't like it, please comment below and let me know what you thought was a bit pants about it, and let me know. But thank you very much for listening, and I will see you hopefully before the end of the weekend with my top and bottom 5 of Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live and NXT from this week. So thank you very much for listening, and I will catch you on the next vlog. Bye bye.